Hello and welcome back to Raising Those Spirits. My name is Sam, and with me is my co-host Steve. Say hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve. Sorry.
Perfect. That was the joke I wanted you to make, and you
I,
made it.
I felt like it, but I was so tired. I was just like, don't do this. Don't do this to them this early. It's only episode 4.
So if you're wondering why Steve is tired, it's because we're dads, and our podcast is about being dads and being spooky all year round. We decided that spooky is not just for Halloween. So if you're just joining us now, that is the premise of our show. And the reason Steve is so tired is because his little one has been waking him up super early every morning, every day, even though it was a long weekend. What the heck?
Yeah, we're recording this coming out of Memorial Day weekend, a time when you're supposed to be able to get some rest and relax, and I was up at like 4 a.m. every single day of that 3-day weekend. So here we are.
Did you get to do anything on your 3 day weekend, or was everything rained out for you?
For the most part, everything was rained out. I took advantage of it, and we did a lot of hard cleaning, stuff like that. I had hoped to get some painting and stuff done around the house, but for the most part, we just kind of chilled, took advantage of that. My son loves going outside. He will grab the sunscreen and bring it to you and then like bring it to the door implying he wants to go out, which is really adorable. But it wasn't just raining, it was like cold and raining. I was like, it's 42 degrees out and it's downpouring. It's just not happening. But he doesn't quite understand that yet, so he wasn't super thrilled. But it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, we was pretty much the same story over here. So it was cold, it was rainy. Normally, if it's a nice rain and my daughter wants to go around jumping puddles, we'll be like, yeah, whatever. Throw your rain boots on, and we'll just change your clothes, and we'll come back in later. But it was just, yeah, it was that bleak, cold downpour for 3 days straight that we just didn't go anywhere and we didn't do anything. And it's funny because that was pretty much our lives for all of 2020 because, obviously we didn't go anywhere really during the pandemic. And because it's been so nice lately, and everybody's getting their jabs, we've been going out and we've been doing things. So this is our first weekend in a long while that was like, we're just gonna go nowhere and we are going to do nothing.
Yeah, it was the exact same here, and he was not having it. He has been spending a lot of time outside. We play in the yard, we go for walks, and he loves the water. The water is like his favorite thing in the world. So when you say it's raining, he's like, okay. And that's not a
Yeah, he
deterrent to
doesn't.
me.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
And he's like, if I
He
go
doesn't.
outside, you're just gonna hit me with the hose anyway. So what's a little rain? And I'm like, well, it's almost freezing. Like it's only like 10 degrees above snow, so we're not doing that. But it is
Oh,
what it
but
is.
did you? It is what it is. Did you get to have any spooky fun indoors during the rainstorms?
So we had a little bit of spooky fun before the rainstorms. I bought bat houses. I know last time we talked about bat houses, and my bat
Hmm.
houses I didn't get to hang because we got rained out, but they do claim they can house up to 75 bats, and I didn't know I bought a clown car for bats cuz I thought maybe 2 to 4 could fit in this thing, but
How big is it? You
it's
were
not
telling me about
very.
this. How
It's like two
how
feet by 18 inches by like 5 inches. It's not a big bat house. But I think you said it, apparently all bats are just drunk frat guys trying to get into an elevator.
Yeah, how many bats could fit into a bat house?
I'm like,
75. So
there
that's a
must.
little bit terrifying. Because
Yeah,
let's say that you get 75 bats in it. Like, it lives up to its name, but now you've got 75 bats. That doesn't sound great.
yeah, I don't think my yard needs 75 bats. Like, I was hoping to get, like, I don't know, 8 to 12. We got some property, we got some bugs that could really help with that. But no,
It's not
75.
it's not like 75 need to move in. Like they don't know that that's the occupancy. There's no guarantee you'd get 75 bats.
I was thinking of making like a wood burn sign to hang next to it that was like, due to COVID regulations, the maximum number of bats allowed in this house is like 5 or something like that. Because,
That's famously rule followers.
yeah,
What I, you know, well, don't get 75 bats.
it it must
That's
be
70 too many bats.
like there
70 too many.
it must be like the smallest species of pygmy bat can fit 75 of them or something in there. And that, like, there just has to be like, well, technically this is a true claim, let's put it on the box. Like, I opened it and I was like, this can't, is this a kit? How, what? I
Hmm.
was confused. But aside from that, we did post on the page. I got some little spooky garden guys that I'd been talking about in previous episodes.
They're very cute.
They are very cute. I'm thinking of getting a few more. I did also order, also from Spirited Away. There was No Face. He's like the big long
Oh yeah,
guy.
yeah.
I ordered a kit of him that also, like, they're like taking care of your garden and stuff. So I'm gonna put them in some of my other planners and have them helping out. I want to find like a whole line of like little spooky figurines to put through all of my planters because I've got a ton of them.
Yeah, I want to start doing that too. You've inspired me. I was showing you. I'll tell our listeners. I was showing Steve some pictures because since we've started this podcast, we now get a lot of like. I get a lot of like spooky gardening ads.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my Facebook is listening to the podcast and showing me appropriate ads. We got this one for like a little like ceramic mushroom monster,
Oh, I
which I
loved
thought was
him.
kind of neat. Yeah, that thing was neat. Looks like a little mushroom troll. I don't know what it is. I think it grows. I think you can grow mushrooms in it. I think that's what it is for. I'm not 100% sure. I might have made that up, in fact. But it, I think it grows mushrooms. 'Cause you can get mushroom growing kits, and it would seem like the perfect thing to put it inside.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, over here, yeah, this last weekend we didn't get out and do anything. I spent a lot of time inside. We've started working on a gallery wall, which is something my wife has wanted to do for a long time. And she sees this on a lot of her like gothic home web pages that she follows, where basically you fill your wall up with all of your spooky prints, little like curio shadow boxes and things. And one of the things that they recommend doing, because it's so hard to like kind of map these things out if you're just like putting things up piecemeal, is always having a piece of paper the size of the frame that you're putting up so you know exactly where it's going to fit. So we started, getting pieces of paper that are the size of our frame so we could kind of map out our wall. Right now, the only things we have up, I got these from Michael's. They're picture frames, but they don't have like actual pictures in them. They just have string and clothespins. So you can kind of like hang your photos up from a clothespin line. It's a nice little rustic look. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. It's just filled with pictures of my kid and my nieces and nephew right now.
Yeah, my wife has been looking at them. She dreams of one of them.
Yeah, our wives follow a lot of the same gothic home sites, I feel.
Yes. I subscribe to a few of them, and like, I don't know, every once in a while I'll see like a cool inspiration thing, but a lot of it's just like, I'm into like these subtle gothic touches around the house. And a lot of these sites are like, I've painted the entire interior of my house flat black. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I see a lot of those pictures, and I'm like, there are times when I like the color, and I'm like, oh, I really like what you've done with this space. But at the same time, it's just like I would like to look at it, but the idea of living in that space, it just feels so enclosed. So even though I'm, into the kind of gothic home decor, I would never want a room that dark because it just is. It makes me feel so claustrophobic when it's just like it's all like deep purples, um,
Yes. And like,
black accents.
the Adams Family mansion had. It wasn't just black, you know what I mean? It was an old, like, Victorian mansion that still had, like, colors of wood and things. It just had, like,
Oh
spooky.
yeah,
And that's what I'm saying. I'm into more of, that as opposed to I have painted everything black and purple.
that and the monsters too. Because I mean, those shows were shot in black and white. If the interior of the houses were entirely black, it would not have read on film. And those were pretty happy monsters. I don't think they wanted anything quite so dreary.
Yeah, I was more thinking like 1991 Adams Family movie.
Oh, that's true. Or Raul Julia
Yeah, the Raul
and
Julia like color one because
Angelica
like
Houston.
there's a lot of earth tones in that house. And,
Okay. Hmm?
you still get color, but like earth tones in itself are kind of muted and dreary, and that's more of my spooky aesthetic.
Okay, I can dig that. Anyway, I would have the pastel goth accents in my Victorian goth house.
I love that.
Just like, oh yeah, I want some demons, but I want those demons to be like yellow and teal.
I'm into that.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Or just have a normal house. It's just like there's an extent. Yeah, what do I have right now? Like I'm looking at my TV stand and it has a lace cover that has bats on it. I have plenty of skulls around the house. Like I'm looking right now, I can see at least three skulls. Oh, and a bunch of Day of the Dead stuff. A lot of skulls. Oh my god, I have so many skulls in my house.
I s-
I'm just looking around my apartment right now and I'm counting one, two, three, four, five. Oh, I'm not even gonna keep counting. It's too many skulls.
well, you also have all your little spider plant skulls.
Oh, that's true. I don't think I've talked about that since the pilot that didn't air. I do have
Oh,
my spider plant skulls. Did
I
I not? Yeah, I
I
didn't talk
think
about
that
that.
was in episode 1 in the reshoot, I think. If not, he takes his trimmings from his spider plant and grows them out of tiny little skulls that are awesome, and it inspired me to get a big spider plant, and it is ready to get like 10
Hmm.
offshoots, and I need to start rehoming them.
Yeah, not real skulls. These are mostly like I have a skull mug that's got a spider plant in it. I have a lot of skull shot glasses that have spider plants in them. You can find those on Etsy. I can talk about stuff I find on Etsy an awful lot. And Steve,
Hmm.
what drink are you raising this week? What spirit are
Okay.
you raising?
Hey, so I was happy. I was surprisingly happy with my drink this week. The drink of the day today is Monster Smash. It is 1.5 ounces of vodka, 1.5 ounces of tonic, 1/2 ounce of simple syrup, 1 lime squeezed, and 5 grapes muddled. So what you do is you get your martini shaker, you muddle the grapes inside, then you add the vodka, the simple syrup, the lime juice, some ice, and you shake it up really good. Then you strain it over fresh ice and you top it with the tonic water. And it is delightful. It's a very
Oh,
nice,
that does
like,
sound really good.
warm weather after dinner drink. Like, I sipped it and I immediately wanted to walk out onto my porch. Like,
Okay, so it's a porch drink. I
it
could dig
is,
that.
yeah, like the sun was setting and, like, it was like kind of like that cool spooky like the bats are in the backyard, all the like all we live in the woods, so like all the predators are starting to come and go on their like day night shifts through the backyard, and it was like I just want to go sit on the porch and zone out with this. It was nice. I'm not normally a huge vodka guy, but really did like it.
There's so few pleasures that are quite as good as sitting outside with your drink of choice, be it a alcoholic drink or a non-alcoholic drink, and just like soaking in the atmosphere.
Yeah,
It's
like
just one of my very favorite things in the world to do.
we have a yard cat that adopted us, and she was like stalking around, and we grow catnip, so like she gets into that and then goes and hunts stuff, and it's just this really nice atmosphere to just kind of like chill. So
Well,
that's what I drank. I used red grapes, which
mm,
gave it a really nice flavor, but also gave it a little bit of like a purplish hue, which was nice and welcome. And I highly recommend it, especially now that it's getting warmer. What did you drink this week?
so this week I went with the Monster Crush. If you haven't guessed, the theme of our episode this week is monsters. Although you don't need to guess because if you clicked on the episode, you'd see that the episode title is Episode 4 Monsters. But I went with the Monster Crush. And I found this on chasingdaisiesblog.com. And they list this as an autumn drink, but I think I gotta move it into the category of summer drinks because of some of the ingredients. I'll go into that in a second. So the ingredients are one shot silver Bacardi rum. Suppose you could use any rum you want. This recipe calls for Bacardi, but we're not all quite so fancy. One mini can of Sprite, two mint leaves, 2 teaspoons of sugar, 3 whole blackberries, and 1 tablespoon of lime juice. And the reason that I put this into the summer drink category is because of those blackberries. Blackberries are coming into season now, and they're going to be in season between June and August. So I'd really put this in the category more of a summer drink, especially with that mint. Although you can really get mint any time of year. And with this, you are muddling the blackberries and the mint leaves together at the bottom of a glass, along with the sugar. Then you're going to add in your ice cubes, pour in your rum, pour in your lime juice, top it off with the Sprite, and use a straw to mix it, and garnish with an extra blackberry. Delicious sounding drink, quite refreshing for this time of year. And yeah, I definitely say that it would fall into the category of summertime drinks, so enjoy that one on your porch. Again, the Monster Crush from chasingdaisiesblog.com. Give that a try.
I'm excited because our blackberry bush is really starting to take off, and our mint is. We have so much mint. Our mint took off too
Oh,
much.
mint grows like nuts. I'm convinced you live on a farm, Steve. The
I'm
amount of stuff you have going on in your backyard. I've been to your house, I've seen it. I know it is, in fact, not a farm, but I'm convinced you live on a farm. Since we're talking about monsters this week, why don't I launch in, I'm going to launch into my pick. And I picked out one of my very favorite storybooks from when my daughter was real little, and it is called Good Night Goon, a petrifying parody. It was written and illustrated by Michael Rex, who actually has a number of other things out. I think his most famous is probably Fangbone, which has been adapted into a Netflix series. But Goodnight Goon, it's a parody of Goodnight Moon, if you can't tell by the rhyme scheme, that takes place in a spooky old castle. And why don't I go ahead? I'm going to read you the first couple of lines. Holding up, opening up my copy. In a cold gray tomb, there was a gravestone, and a black lagoon, and a picture of Martians taking over the moon. And there were 3 little mummies rubbing their tummies, and 2 hairy claws, and a set of jaws. I'm not going to read any further because it's actually, it's not a particularly long book, and I don't want to ruin it, but I think that Goodnight Goon, it's a good spooky fun. It always makes for a good nighttime read with my daughter, or at least it did. She's a little bit aged out of it now. The thing that I really appreciate about Goodnight Goon is that it is a. We talked a little bit about this with Vampirina. It's a real good introduction to spooky without ever getting into scary territory. The goon, he looks kind of like a goblin. We see him on just about every page. He's green. He's kind of slimy looking. He plays with a lot of skeletons. There's monsters under the bed. There's big Tim Burton looking worm things. There's a lot of ghosts. It's a board book, so of course you're gonna be able to read it in about 2 minutes. And it's just a lot of really fun imagery. It makes for a good bedtime book.
sounds good. There are so many knockoffs of Goodnight Moon. I think it's insane. I feel like everyone has at least one if they have a kid.
Oh yeah, and I mean we have 2 copies of Goodnight Moon. We have I think because everybody gets gifted a copy of Goodnight Moon. So we have our copy that we had read 100 times, which is now pretty much in tatters, and we have another copy that's sitting on the shelf and is in fine condition because we don't touch it. And I think it's good to have multiple copies of it because one's eventually going to get wrecked. It's a lot of fun. I guess I don't have a ton to say about it. The artwork is really cool. It's simple. I mean, again, if for little kids, it's simple rhymes. So it's one of those first books that you can read, and your kid is going to be able to kind of read it back to you. I don't know that your son might not be at an age where he's able to do that yet, but at my daughter's age now, she is not reading, but she's getting really good at repeating what is being read to her to the point that it almost feels like she's reading, which has been really fun to watch.
My
Another
Oh, go ahead.
Hmm. I was saying another one we were reading earlier. My wife was reading with her earlier tonight. Is there was an old lady who swallowed a ghost. I think it is. It's a play on there was an old lady who swallowed a fly.
Hmm.
Um, and she's definitely at a place where she's trying to read it along, even though I don't think she quite knows what all the letters mean.
Yeah, my son will grab books and go and sit down with them and just babble to himself. So he wants to read the books. He'll flip through them and just ba 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 ba, which is adorable, but I can't wait for him to actually be able to just kind of plop down because the want is there.
Hmm.
Like the desire to do this is there.
It's really fun to watch them grow up with things, and one of the reasons I think it's so important to get them in with all this spooky stuff. I don't want her to ever be afraid of things, especially things that there's no real reason to be afraid of. There's no reason to be afraid of the goblins in a book. Why not have them be fun? Why not have them be something that you don't ever need to be afraid of? And that's what this does. That's one of the things that this book is able to do. Is it brings monsters down to their level, something they can understand, something they can enjoy, something they can follow along with. That's gonna sit on their bookshelf and get reread over and over again. So it's a ton of fun.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly because my book, which we'll get to eventually, is the same thing. It's about a monster, but it's just a monster on the page, and it's just a big friendly monster. And there's nothing to actually be scared of with it. And I think, monsters are really good in these books as they can be used as a tool to show that there's nothing to be scared of because the world is scary. And so
Hmm.
if you just turn the world, whatever is scary about the world, into a monster, it makes it a tangible thing
Hmm.
that you can reason with or deal with or work around. I mean, look at the Muppets. The Muppets, I mean, with the exception of like Kermit and them, most of them are just monsters. Like Jim
That's true.
Henson did a great job just normalizing monsters to basically have different personality traits that tackle different issues.
I mean, that's what they refer to themselves on Sesame Street too. Is I think they always refer to themselves as monsters. Like Elmo's a monster, Gonzo's a monster, Oscar Oscar is a grouch. I guess just by virtue of being a Muppet, I think they're
The
monsters.
the Grouches are monsters. Confirmed.
They
The
are. They're
Grouches,
not like they're not their own thing.
they are a race of monsters.
Right,
And
because
then
they did a
there's
whole movie.
mm-hmm.
I've not seen that movie.
Then there's Sweetums, the giant hairy ogre one who like chases him around and stuff. He is a monster.
Oh yeah, Sweetums is great
Yeah.
because he's and one the Muppet movie was one of my favorite movies growing up. I love that scene at the used car dealer with Sweetums where he's gonna go with them, but then they don't think he's coming back, so they drive off. And he's just chasing them the rest of the movie. I love that.
Is that the one where he's like, "I love you guys"? I feel like it's Muppet Treasure Island because they're always running from
Muppet Treasure Island, I
Sweetums.
don't know. I did not see Muppet Treasure Island
At one point,
growing up.
he catches them because he's been chasing them for all these movies, and finally, he's like, "Why are you guys always running away from me?" And they're like, "We thought, you were chasing us." He was like, "Chase you guys? I love you guys!" And he like scoops them, and like it's just this really good like reveal that he looks big and scary, but he's Sweetums is great.
Hmm. I'm
And
with you.
sometimes things that are big and scary turn out to be great.
That's how I like to think of myself.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
great, even though I'm quite big.
I mean,
What?
I not me. So Petra and my son went to her best friend's house for the first time because COVID and stuff. But everyone's vaccinated now, so she took our son and went to visit. Except her best friend's fiance is like very, very tall, 6'6" or something. He's a very tall dude, and my son was just like okay if he was sitting down, but if he stood up, my son was like, "Nope, that man is too tall. Like he unacceptable." So it can be scary.
I mean that's the thing about being a kid, and I always wonder. There's a point when you're a little kid that I feel like anything is possible, right? Because you just don't have the context for things to be impossible. At what point do things then become scary? Because if that guy had a kid, I don't know if they do, their kid wouldn't think anything of them being so tall. It's only because your son isn't used to somebody being that tall that it is foreign to them.
I think a great tie-in to this, going back to Jim Henson Workshop in a way, is in Labyrinth. The baby that
Mm-hmm.
plays Toby wasn't the baby cast to play Toby. The baby cast to play Toby freaked out, as honestly babies should.
Right, when seeing all those goblins.
Yeah, so they were having a lot of trouble making Labyrinth because babies would be surrounded by these goblins and just be like, no. And so Toby is actually played by one of the women from the Jim Henson Creature Workshop. She was like the head Muppet designer or something.
Mm.
She had just had a baby. And he was totally used to it because their house was just like Muppet
Filled with
stuff.
Muppets.
And she worked with Muppets every day and she helped build the Muppets for this movie. So he was just always around them. And so they cast her son as the baby because he's the only baby in the world that were like, this is totally normal. This is Tuesday. This is what my life is like. And
Oh,
so,
that is so fascinating.
yeah, so as you said, other if he had a son, this wouldn't be a problem. My cousin is married to a guy who's like 6'9", and her kids are like just massive as well. Even at like 2, they were literally like the size of 5-year-olds.
Mm.
But they never thought anything of it. Like, to them, daddy was just really tall, and that was normal.
Wow. So yeah, so that's I always wonder. It's just like at what point? 'Cause I feel like right now my daughter, she's just about to turn 4. If she saw a unicorn now, would she think, well, that doesn't make sense? Unicorns are not real, or is she still at an age where, oh yeah, unicorns could be a real thing? When does it stop being a possibility?
That's an interesting take because I think, especially with animals, that
Hmm.
goes much longer than other things. Like, because
Like the possibility of an animal being real.
yeah, well, I mean, dinosaurs are real, or at least were real. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And, like, there were grown women in my wife's office who did not believe narwhals were real. They thought they were fantasy creatures.
Narwhals are pretty amazing.
Yeah. They were like, no, they're like unicorns of the sea. And my wife was like, yes, but they exist. Like,
So
so,
how did they take it when they found out the narwhals were real?
I mean, I don't want to get political, but I know at least the main one was a Trumper, and she might have never accepted it.
Wow. So even like staring in the face of the fact that in like with beyond a doubt, we know for a fact that narwhals are real. People can see them. It wouldn't accept it. Oh, that's so fascinating.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, again, like like, look at how crazy some animals out there are. We took my son to the Roger Williams Zoo, and
Mhm.
he saw a giraffe. Now he has two of his favorite toys are giraffes. Didn't matter. He saw a giraffe, and you could see his brain melting. Like, just the shape of it. Like, it just tore down everything he knew about the world and built it right back up because this thing exists. So, what the hell else
Huh.
exists?
No, that's so cool. Because I mean, like to him, his giraffes were always just his toy. And like then you see this thing, and it's like, well, this is impossible. This is not a real thing. These are just toys. Why am I able to see a giraffe? Like, how do I comprehend the sight of giraffe?
Yeah, so now, like, does he look at his other toys and be like, are all of you real? Because I guarantee you a bunch of them aren't. But that has to open the door of possibility in his mind.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Just thinking about it, because it's Like my daughter has seen elephants. We've been to a zoo. She's seen an elephant, but not if she had not seen an elephant. Like how different in her mind is an elephant from a Tyrannosaurus? If an elephant can exist, like a genuinely ridiculous creature when you really think about it, like it's the size of a house, it has tails on both ends, and it has comically big ears. An elephant should, like just look at when you think about an elephant, like there's no reason that an elephant should exist. They're ridiculous. Snuffleupagus is a Muppet and is as believable as an actual elephant because of how ridiculous an elephant is. If
Yeah,
an elephant is so ridiculous and can't exist, why can't a brontosaurus be a thing? Like, why can't you go to a zoo and see a brontosaurus? But I think she's old enough now to know that she should not be able to see a brontosaurus.
but
But
even
really, how is an elephant and a brontosaurus any different to a kid?
yeah, how is it? How is a brontosaurus and a giraffe any different? They're just giant things with long necks.
Yeah.
There's a reason kids believe in cryptids more than adults, because like the concept of a Loch Ness monster or a Bigfoot, like why not? What's to stop it?
Right. How is a Loch Ness monster any different than a whale? Like, my daughter's never seen a whale. She knows whales exist.
Exactly.
Think. I mean, but it's just like how it is. Yeah, the Loch Ness monster, like because she watches, I think I was talking about Vampirina on our last episode, and we've actually since then have been rewatching Vampirina a bunch the last couple of days. But yeah, there was an episode where they go to Transylvania and they meet sea monsters, like a big Loch Ness monster style sea monster. And there's plenty of cartoons she watches that have whales. She watches a lot of Octonauts also, which I think where I want to bring up in a future episode, but that's neither here nor there right now. Yeah, like is the whale in Octonauts any different than the Loch Ness monster on Vampirina? Her mind, should she be able to does she think she should be able to go visit the Loch Ness monster the same way we might visit a whale at an aquarium?
Yeah, because he's seen whales, but then he's also seen belugas, and they're also whales, but they don't look like whales.
No.
Like end of day, they're very different. Hell, today we went on a walk after dinner, and one of our neighbors has a border collie, not a border collie, a rough collie, like a literal like a lassie type of dog that like trots up and greets him and stuff. And then their next door neighbor has like a long-haired dachshund. They
I
have a
say wiener dog.
Yeah, they've got a wiener dog. So we walk by the lassie house and we're like, it's a dog. And then we walk by the dachshund house and we're like, it's a dog. And they are so different.
They're
Like,
not the same.
how does he accept that? How are we like, hey, so a rough collie and a dachshund, yeah, they're both just dogs. Like, they don't even look like they're remotely related. So I think his capacity for believing in really anything at that stage is like, all right, I guess anything goes. Like,
Right, but then he sees a relatively tall man, like taller than average man, and it's like, what is this? I have such a hard time comprehending what I'm seeing.
mm-hmm.
And so that is all very much like Goodnight Goon somehow.
Bring it back.
Uh, no, but I mean, but yeah, that's the great thing about these books that make the weird and unusual accessible to kids. It makes it possible. Now, I guess now I'm questioning. It's like, how possible do I want the impossible to be to my kid? And I would say for right now, I want everything that's impossible to be possible because I think that makes things more magical.
Oh yeah, I want to raise my kid with like a magical perspective. And I think I've talked about that. Like that's the thing. It's one of the reasons I have like we're building the trail through the woods, and I want to get those statues that like peek out from under stumps. Like I want it. I really want to encourage that, and like that's part of our heritage too. We're
Fantasy imagination.
yeah, and we're both Norwegian. My wife more than me, but like they have all the like the Nissa and such, like the little like forest trolls, and like there's house trolls, there's forest trolls, there's yard trolls. Like they're all over, and they just They're these little magical things that like you can teach them about as you do the walks, and just why not? Some people
Hmm.
teach their kids about the Easter Bunny. I'd rather teach my kid about all the weird little magical things in the world.
Yeah, we watch Pogo a bunch. I think that's a nice, easy introduction to Mexican American folklore for my daughter. I need to learn more about Mexican American and Mexican folklore because I just really genuinely don't know nearly as much as I feel like I should as a, the third generation Mexican American. But yeah, I mean, we do have a lot of sugar skulls around the house, but I guess I need to know more about why we have sugar skulls around the house.
Have you seen Hilda? I've heard really good things about Hilda.
Hilda, I have not heard of Hilda.
Oh, I think you would really be into Hilda just based off of the art style and stuff. It's this little free, and I've seen the trailer, and Netflix always tries to get me to watch it. It's a Canadian animated modern fantasy. Like it's like this girl lives in like her small town in the woods, but the woods are magical, and it's about like her adventures going off into the woods and making friends and getting into weird magical mischief and then going back to just normal Canada at the end of the day.
Oh, that does sound fun.
It's supposed to be really good. I was hoping you could give a recommendation, although I have to say we tried Vampirina Sam.
Oh, it didn't work out.
It did not work out. No
Oh
one
no, what
no one
happened?
liked it. And
I like Vampirina.
I know
Oh
last
no.
episode I said I would cancel the podcast, and I won't do that. I won't go so
Thank
drastic.
you.
But yeah, no, the boy was kind of into a song or two, but no, he didn't care for it. We didn't care for it. My wife really didn't care for it. She's got strong opinions.
Wow. I look
Yeah.
forward to hearing them.
Yeah, she has very strong opinions about the inner logic of the show.
There's none.
There is none. That's what I said, and I think that offended her more. But
Oh well. She's gonna have to bring that up with Disney. They're in their third season.
I know. So
What did you read this week, Steve?
so my recommendation last week was Mirror Royal Detective, and I bring that back up because
Hmm.
I couldn't find this book. I read it to my son like, I don't know, 3 weeks ago and put it back on the shelf and could not find it all morning. And I was really getting annoyed. Like, it's a big book, it is not like a tiny book.
Hmm.
And so we were watching Mirror Royal Detective, and she's,
Like you do.
yeah, like you do when you're just trying to get 5 minutes to check your work emails. And you can't ever fully tune it out. And she's like, well, looking for something that's lost, and she's breaking down how you find something that's lost, and it helped me find the damn book, Sam.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was like I went down, and I came back up, and my wife was like, "How did you find it? We both searched for like 20 minutes this morning," and I was like, "Mirror Royal Detective walked me through where it would be."
It's amazing.
Yeah, so I had to give a shout out to Mirror Royal Detective because she
I'm
did
gonna have to
help me
watch that show.
find. She helped me find the Beast in the Bathtub
Hmm.
by Kathleen Stevens, illustrated by Ray Bowler. Now, this is one of my favorite books from when I was a kid. My son will tolerate me reading this to him. He goes through book phases. Some days he's really into it. Some days he's really avant-garde and wants me to read them in weird order page-wise, and some days he just doesn't want to sit still. But this is
Hmm.
one that typically he'll let me read to him. So this is about a little boy named Lewis. Oh, also, sorry, this is for age ranges 2 to 6 recommended.
Hmm.
So you follow a young boy named Lewis who has been told by his parents to take a bath. But there is a
Oh,
beast in the bathtub. It is a large green monster that looks kind of like a hippo in a way. And it is taking a bath in the bathtub. But his parents don't want to hear it. He has to take a bath and get ready for bed, and so he has to go confront the beast and tell the Beast, it's his turn to take a bath. And, he ends up having to take a bath with the Beast. They end up becoming friends, and they go through his nighttime routine together. But the Beast is huge and cumbersome, so they make lots of noise and knock over things, which they have to then clean up together. Because, his parents keep yelling at him to get to bed, so brush your teeth and put on your pajamas and get to bed. And you kind of follow their journey, and they become friends, and the monster ends up at the end of the book moving in under his bed and becoming the monster under his bed. It's kind of just about as we talked earlier, normalizing the monsters in your everyday life, but also to a degree it seems to be about becoming self-sufficient in your routine. It's about
Hmm.
how he's learning to take a bath by himself and brush his teeth by himself and get himself dressed for bed. So, it has dealing with the fear stuff for the younger kids, and then as they get a little older, the hey, you can start, getting your pajamas on yourself type of a lesson. And I learned
Okay.
there's at least two more books in this series that I did not know of, but I'm kind of interested to get. One of them they go to the beach together, and one of them they deal with his babysitter together.
Oh. Okay, so this seems like it's like using a monster to represent the thing that you're afraid of. He's afraid of taking a bath.
Or maybe
Because
it's
baths,
not even,
can be scary. I can see that.
it doesn't even need to be something scary. It might just be something he doesn't want to do.
Doesn't want to do, yeah.
Like the monster is nighttime, bath time is your responsibility. And you don't always want to take a bath, but sometimes you have to, and you wrestle with that monster. And sometimes you find out you really like bath time alone.
Yeah, we were going through a period not too long ago where I say we, I mean, my wife is more of the leader at bath time, where it was very difficult to get my daughter into the bath, and you really have to find the things that they can enjoy about being in the bath to convince them to do it. So I totally get that, like, the little kids, like, no, I don't want to take a bath. Like, the bath does feel like a monster. It's this big thing. It's like it's a hassle. It's something that you don't want to do. It's the same way I feel about like getting up and checking my work email in the morning. Like, I have to do this. It's my job.
Oh, yeah, the
Um,
dishes are my monster to this day. Like, every single night, I'm just like. Because I cook, but I also do the dishes. And,
oh,
like,
sure.
I made this meal. I'm done with my work day. My wife handles the actual like end of bedtime. I do the bath and stuff. But like at that point, I always am just like, oh, it's time to just kind of sit down. And I'm like, no, no, I have to do the damn dishes. And it is. It's like I am 36, and it is my monster to this day. But that's why I have podcasts. I put on a podcast, and that's honestly now that I have a kid and I'm not commuting to work anymore. It's when I listen to a lot of my podcasts, getting the dishes done in the morning and the evening.
It's kind of amazing how certain chores, when you have a kid, I hope some of our listeners who have kids weigh in on this. Certain chores become your relaxation activity because ends up being an excuse to walk away from your kid for a couple of minutes. And that sounds terrible, but it's something everybody needs to accept that they're going to have to do sometimes. Um,
Absolutely. That's why I have a farm. I didn't have a farm initially.
no, it's just like I need to go tend to the I have to go tend to the mint. What?
Yeah.
I need to tend to the mint.
I need to go water the
And that
plants. I need to go weed. I need to go plant things. I just need to go outside and do that right now.
so that's you becoming friends with your monster. It's just like, oh, these things aren't even chores anymore because they're part of what I do. Like, it's not a monster anymore. I don't need to, I don't have to wrestle with doing the dishes. I can make doing the dishes work for me.
The Beast in the Bathtub. I recommend it. I still like it as an adult. I think the art is really fun. It's a little dated to a degree, not like racist or anything, just like he puts on like his cowboy pajamas and stuff. And I don't think
Oh no,
cowboys is
I was
is it still a thing?
no, I was saying I was looking at the art. I googled it while you were talking, and yeah, it has that sort of older drawing style, which I think still holds up.
I think it still holds up fine. It's nice. I can't wait to read it to my kid and have him learn the actual lessons. And maybe even if he likes this one, find the other two.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So, can recommend.
Right. Well, why don't we close the show out with grown up time? Do you have a grown up time suggestion for this week, Steve? Something you can listen to, or something you can do when your kids are sleeping or otherwise occupied?
Yes, so last episode I told you I had started the podcast Station Blue and I was halfway through it and I finished season 1. And it is incredibly good. It got a little shaky there for a minute. I thought it might, I mean, minor spoiler, I guess. I thought it might be one of
Hmm.
those things where it turns out it's all in their head at the end, and I hate that. I cannot,
Hmm.
that can just ruin a movie. Like,
Oh, sure.
I have seen, I was actually on a roll for a little while a few years ago where I watched like 3 amazing horror movies in a row. And then, like, the last 5 minutes, it was revealed that it was all in their head. And I was like, this has to stop. Do I like movies? Is this
Well, that's one of those. It's like, did they just not have an ending? Like they couldn't figure the ending out, so it all ends up being a dream.
Yeah, and like seriously, I loved the movie for 85 minutes, and then at the 90-minute mark, I cursed its name and was like, I can't recommend this to anyone. And I was worried it was going to be like that, but it wasn't. There is a payoff. It ends on a really low note, but
Hmm.
that's because they're teasing season 2. It's supposed to be a 3-season arc they've revealed. And season 2 is supposed to be out, but then COVID happened, and now they are releasing it. I believe releasing it this month. I know they're recording now, but I think episode
Hmm.
1 of season 2 should be coming out probably end of this month, June 2021. So if you start listening now, you can catch up. It's only about like 3 to 4 hours of podcasting for season 1.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's only 11 episodes long, and most of them are like 20 to 30 minutes, I think. So I do recommend. That is my adult time recommendation. We got It Chapter 2 in on Netflix in November, and I just found the DVD while cleaning over the weekend, and I feel really guilty. But I'm going to watch that. And maybe I'll let you know about that next adult time, even though that is very dated, and that'll probably be on top of something else.
All right. Well, I'm going to recommend for my adult time. I'll also recommend a podcast I listened to recently, The Left Right Game, starring and produced by Tessa Thompson, who you know from Thor Ragnarok. She was on Westworld. She's kind of all over the place right now, but Tessa Thompson, she's an amazing actress. It's a 10 episode podcast series based on, I think it was a Reddit thread. Like, because there's a subreddit for basically creepy pastas that someone originally wrote this whole thing out for, and it was produced as a podcast. It's about an NPR reporter, or not an actual NPR reporter, or whatever this universe's equivalent of NPR is, who goes. It is about a reporter who goes in search of a story about the left right game, which is where you start driving your car and you take your first left and then you take your next first possible right, and you just keep doing that ad infinitum until you end up in a parallel universe. And then you travel. It tells the story of her traveling through this weird alternate Earth, and I put it on just because I was looking for something new to listen to, and I was really captivated. 10 episodes. I listened to the whole thing in about a week during my commute and in any free time I had that I could just listen to a podcast.
You are killing me.
What?
You know how the other day I asked you if you wanted to do a horror podcast?
Yes, I do remember that conversation.
I just spent a week writing what you just described.
Oh no!
Oh.
No, do you want me to choose a different thing to recommend so we don't have to end the
Well, no,
podcast
now
on
I'm
that
just gonna
note?
light my notes on fire, I guess. God damn it.
Wow, that's wild.
That is wild. The only
Like the
difference.
driving game and everything?
No, no, I didn't do the left right game, but I did do one of the Reddit creepypasta games that drops you in an
Oh,
alternate reality.
that's
And
wild.
it was an NPR esque reporter. I had it being like, yeah, basically an NPR reporter. I was basing it off of our time working at like a crappy local Staten Island station, so I was gonna have it be like one of those type of reporters. But yeah,
76.
yeah, I was basing it off of our experience working in local news and like all the young cub reporters that are just trying to like get enough experience or get their break to make a name for themselves. And it was about one of those games that drops you in an alternate world and navigating your way there and then trying to get home.
So, what you could do is just take the parts of it that are not what I just described and rework them.
Mm,
Still hope.
that's a lot. That's a lot of what I've. Mm,
Well,
yeah,
here's what
man.
I'm going to recommend listen to the left right game and then do none of it. Do nothing like it.
Ugh, that's the thing. I'm gonna have to listen to it now
You do
because
have to listen to it
otherwise everything I do is just gonna be a rip off of the left right game.
without even knowing. They're turning into a TV show too.
You know what's killing me? I've actually been working on this for 2 years, and I didn't get the idea to do it as a podcast until I listened to Station Blue. I had been working it into a YouTube series. And then when COVID happened, I was like, well, this isn't really something I can manage. And I kind of stopped after my son was born, just because time and energy. But my wife and I had been working on it while she was pregnant. And I was like, I'm gonna change the format and do an audio drama podcast. And now I don't think I am. Now I don't think I'm going to do any of this.
I think I just saved you a lot of time.
I mean, we're 2 years in, so like you technically did, but I do have a binder on my desk. It's labeled and everything.
Wow. Well, don't give up on it.
I know.
Listen to the left right game. Maybe it won't be as close to your as idea as you thought.
Maybe. Ugh. All right. I'll soundboard it off of you once I get it together. Well, you can tell me if what if I can read you my notes and you can tell me if I need to shift gears.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll do that another time. Everybody, thank you so much. I can't get through that. I can't get through the outro.
I'm gonna
I'm
go
going to laugh.
eat
I'm not
the.
laughing at you.
I
Go eat that
know.
pie.
I'm gonna go eat a pie. I made a strawberry rhubarb pie and I'm going to go eat it.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening to Raising Those Spirits. You can, of course, find us on social media, usually as RT Spirits Pod. We're that on Instagram and Twitter. We're Raising Those Spirits on Facebook. Please tell people about our show if you enjoyed listening to it. Like, subscribe to us wherever you are listening to this show. We're trying to get out on more formats, so hopefully you'll be able to recommend us on other formats soon. And let us know what do you think? What is a good monster book for your kid? What is your favorite alternate flavor of Oreo? And what is your favorite activity to do? What's your favorite chore that is now a thing that you do for fun?
And make sure you like and share and please, please comment. Let us know what you're thinking. We would love to hear from you.
All right. Well, until next time, we're raising those spirits. I'm Sam.
I'm Steve.
We'll see you. We'll see you out there. We don't have a sign off yet.
We're working on it. Bye.
Figure it out. Bye.